A sudden storm slashed into the canyon, turning a dry wash into a death trap within minutes. The water rose with terrifying speed, inches a minute, sweeping debris and drowning everything low. Wildlife photographer Elena Rivera, caught in the downpour, spotted a bobcat den tucked low among roots and boulders. Inside, a mother bobcat, later named Tala, shielded 3 newborn cubs. Their eyes still sealed shut, Tala grabbed the nearest cub in her jaws and burst from the flooding den as water poured through the entrance. She dropped the wet cub onto a slick rock a few feet above the water, then turned back for the others.
2 more in there. She can't go back into that. Oh God, she's going.
Already the den was a churning pool. The water had swallowed the entrance and was rising inside fast. Tala plunged back in, emerging seconds later with nothing but panic in her amber eyes. The den was gone. 1 cub safe on the rock, 2 still somewhere inside. She dove again, vanishing beneath the churning water that had swallowed the den. When she surfaced, a second cub hung from her jaws, its tiny body slick and still. Tala fought the current to a low boulder. The cub clutched tight as water surged around her. She slipped, the cub nearly torn away, but caught herself with a desperate twist.
She's got him. She's actually doing it. Keep going. Keep going.
She laid the soaked cub beside the first, their mewls barely audible over the roaring storm. The den entrance was a dark hole filling fast, the water lapping at the roots above.
1 more still down there. She won't stop. She can't stop.
Without pausing, Tala plunged into the den again, the water now at her shoulders. She vanished beneath the surface, and for a moment the world was only rain and rising flood. Seconds stretched into an eternity before Tala broke the surface. The last cub clamped in her teeth, gasping for air. The current seized her instantly, dragging her downstream as she paddled furiously against the brown torrent.
She's got the cub, but the water's taking her. I can't just watch. Mayday! Canyon flash flood. There's a bobcat and cubs. 3 cubs. They're being swept away.
Only static answered. The canyon walls swallowed her transmission, leaving her alone with the storm. Tala's claws scraped stone as she caught a half-submerged boulder, the cub still dangling from her mouth. With a final lunge, she heaved onto the rock, cub safe, chest heaving, legs trembling from exhaustion.
All 3. She got all 3. But they're still barely above the water.
Tala collapsed for a moment. The 3 cubs huddled against her, the water still climbing the rock's sides. The storm showed no mercy. Every inch of safety was temporary, and the canyon was still filling fast. Tala grabbed the nearest cub and scrambled up to a narrow shelf, just clear of the snapping water. She dropped the cub into a shallow crevice and raced back down, the original rock now completely submerged. She repeated the journey twice more, each round more desperate, the water now nipping at her heels.
That ledge is a death trap. The water is still climbing. She has to find a real refuge.
Then Tala looked up at the sheer cliff, the only dry rock in the canyon, 40 feet of slick, impossible stone. She stared at it for a long moment, the cubs mewling behind her, the water lapping at the rock.
No, no, no. She can't be serious. Climb that with a cub in her mouth? She won't make it.
The water reached the edge of the shelf. The cubs were getting wet. There was no more time. Tala pushed the 3 cubs together against the rock, then turned to face the cliff, her muscles tensing. Up was the only answer. She had no choice but to try the impossible, not once, but 3 times. She lifted the first cub gently in her jaws and pressed herself against the wet stone, muscles quivering. Tala clawed upward inch by inch, the cub dangling silent from her mouth.
Don't look down. Don't slip. You are almost there. Keep going.
The cub hung motionless, trusting only the grip of its mother's jaw against the void. Her hind paws scrabbled for purchase on a narrow seam, sending pebbles skittering into the flood below. With a final heave, Tala hauled herself onto the dry ledge, her chest heaving like a bellows. She laid the cub on the stone, nudging it against the back wall, then stood trembling at the edge.
1 down. She's got 1 safe. But oh God, she has to go back down now.
Without a moment's rest, Tala turned and began the treacherous descent, her claws scraping stone. Her legs were already shaking. But two more cubs were still below, and the water was still climbing. She scrambled down to where the two cubs huddled on a shrinking stone, the water now sucking at the rock's base. She seized the second cub and turned upward, her legs already trembling more violently than before.
She's so tired. Her legs are giving out. Don't fall, don't fall.
Her paw slipped on a slick seam, and for one terrible heartbeat, both she and the cub dangled by three claws.
Oh God, she's slipping. No, she caught it. She caught herself. Keep climbing.
Blood smeared from a torn pad, but she forced herself upward again. The cub never loosened from her jaws. She dragged herself over the ledge's lip and placed the second cub beside the first, both now shivering together. Two tiny spotted bodies pressed together, mewling weakly, the storm still drumming on the stone around them.
Too safe, but she's bleeding, and the last one is all alone down there. The water is almost over that rock.
Tala looked down at the remaining cub, then pushed off the ledge, descending into the jaws of the flood once more. She found the last cub tangled in a mat of floating branches, barely above the sucking current. Tala snatched it from the debris and swam, fighting with every ounce of strength to reach the cliff base. With the cub clamped in her jaws, she began the third climb, her muscles now screaming with each pull.
That's the last one, but she's spent. This climb will kill her.
A rock broke loose. She swung free, dangling by a single claw, the cub swaying from her mouth. With a desperate lunge, she caught a lower outcrop, gasping, then drove herself upward again. She hauled herself over the lip, collapsed, the cub tumbling safely beside the others.
She made it. All three. I can't believe it. Oh, thank God.
Tala lay motionless, the cubs mewling weakly, the storm still pounding the canyon. The water was still climbing. Even this ledge was not yet safe. Tala had only bought a few more minutes. On the ridge, Elena's radio suddenly hissed with a voice torn by static.
Elena Rivera, this is Captain Morrison. Copy?
Elena here. I am at the canyon. I need help. There's a bobcat with cubs trapped in the flood.
Forget the Bobcat. A debris dam upstream just broke. There's a second surge coming. Bigger than the first. Get to high ground now.
A second surge? That ledge is 50 feet above the original, but if the water doubles...
She looked down at the high ledge where Tala lay, the water already licking faster at the rock below. Tala lifted her head, amber eyes fixed on the rising flood. Something had changed. The water was accelerating, climbing the cliff face like a living thing.
She has to see it. She has to move them again. But there's nowhere higher.
The ledge was no longer a refuge. It was a countdown. Tala forced her trembling legs under her and grabbed the nearest cub, scrambling to a shelf a few feet higher. She dropped the cub into a shallow crevice and raced back, the water now sucking at the rock. She repeated the journey twice more, each round more desperate, until all three cubs huddled together, the water only inches below them.
That ledge is a death trap. She can't stay there.
Tala's amber eyes found the cliff, the only dry rock in the entire canyon. 40 feet of vertical stone, slick with rain, but untouched by the flood.
She's not thinking about climbing that. She can't. It's suicide.
The water lapped at the edge of the shelf, splashing the cubs. Tala didn't flinch. She looked up, and in that look was a decision no mother should have to make. Up was the only answer. She would try the impossible, not once, but 3 times. The peak flood hit the canyon wall with a thunderous roar, spraying the crevice but leaving the cubs dry. Then the rain began to ease, and the darkness settled in like a cold blanket over the canyon. Through her flashlight, Elena saw Tala frantically licking 2 of the cubs, while the third lay motionless. The weak cub she had fought so hard to save was barely moving, its tiny ribs barely rising.
Number. Not this one. She carried it underwater, and now it's slipping away. Captain Morrison, Elena. One of the cubs. She saved it twice, and it's dying anyway.
Copy. We're still cut off until first light. Keep the camera rolling, whatever happens.
The flood finally began to inch down, leaving a scar of debris high on the cliff. But the night grew colder, and Tala pulled all 3 cubs against her, the limp one at her throat. Elena kept her beam on the little family, willing the tiny body to move as the minutes stretched into hours. A red battery warning blinked in Elena's viewfinder, but she couldn't look away from the crevice. The rain finally stopped, leaving an eerie silence broken only by the water's slow retreat. Tala's tongue moved tirelessly over the motionless cub, but the tiny body gave nothing back.
It's been still for too long. She's licking fur, not breathing.
Elena felt the tears freeze on her cheeks as she pressed the radio button.
Captain, I think the little one's gone. She's still trying, but there's nothing.
I am sorry, Elena. Stay with them. We're coming at first light.
In the crevice, Tala wrapped herself around all 3, her own exhaustion finally claiming her. Elena lowered the radio, unable to speak, watching the dark silhouette of a mother who had given everything. The cub lay still. The hours ahead felt like a vigil for the already lost. A coyote's howl sliced through the silence, too close. Elena swung the beam and caught the glint of eyes, a coyote on the opposite bank. Drawn by the scent of birth and blood, the coyote paced at the water's edge, searching for a way across, its head low and hungry. Tala lifted her head and let out a weak, hissing growl, her body a shield over the motionless cubs. The coyote tested the water with a paw, but the current was too violent. Flinging spray against the rocks, it whined in frustration, pacing back and forth, but the flood was an impenetrable wall.
Stay away. She's given everything. Just go.
Finally, the coyote turned and melted back into the dark, leaving only the sound of rushing water. Tala's head dropped back onto the cold stone, her last energy spent. She had nothing left to give, but the cubs were untouched. The flood, the climb, the coyote. Tala had held the line. Dawn broke over the canyon, the water now far below, and the crevice was completely dry for the first time. Elena's flashlight died, but in the gray morning, she saw Tala still curled around the cubs, the weak one motionless. Then a tiny paw twitched, a flicker of movement in the limp body. The cub lifted its head and let out a fragile, scratchy mewl, the first sound it had made in hours. It nosed blindly against Tala's belly and latched on, nursing with desperate, trembling pulls.
She's alive. Oh, thank God, she's alive. They're all alive.
Elena, this is Morrison. We're on the ridge. What's your status?
Captain, all 3 are nursing. The one we thought was gone. She's nursing.
Copy that. We're 12 minutes out. Hang tight.
The crevice was dry, the cubs safe, but Tala's eyes stayed closed. Her body had given everything, and the price was still being counted. Joe's crew appeared on the opposite ridge, quiet and efficient, lowering packs and setting up a spotting scope. Through binoculars, Joe found the crevice, a motionless bobcat and 3 tiny shapes against her fur. But Tala stirred, lifting her head. Her tongue was dry. She looked at the puddle far below, then back at the cubs.
She's leaving them to find water. But if a coyote circles back, or the cold takes one...
Tala descended, each step a tremble, and drank from a rain pocket until her shivering stilled. When she scrambled back, the other 2 cubs mewled weakly, but the third was motionless again.
Not again. She was nursing 20 minutes ago. Now she's like stone.
Tala pulled the limp cub to her throat, licking with a rhythm that felt more like prayer than instinct.
Elena, we've got eyes on the bobcat. What's the cub's status?
The weakest one's crashed. She's barely breathing. I don't know if she's got another miracle in her.
Tala's tongue worked furiously over the motionless cub, every pass a silent plea for life. The cub's ribs didn't rise. Its paws stayed curled, no reflex flickering.
She's just warming a body now. There's nothing left to save. Joe, it's been almost 10 minutes. No breath, no twitch. I am watching her lick a corpse.
I know it's hard, but keep filming. Whatever happens, this is a record of what she gave.
Tala made a low, almost musical sound, a croon that wasn't for any living ears. The other two cubs mewled in reply, a frail chorus of need and confusion, but the little one gave back only silence. Not even a whisper of breath. Minute after minute passed, the sun climbing higher, but Tala never stopped licking. Hope felt like a thread pulled too tight, ready to snap. Tala curled her body around the still cub, pulling it into her own failing warmth. She licked its face with a rhythm that felt like a second heartbeat, refusing the silence. Then a shudder rippled through the tiny body, a gasp followed by a ragged, high-pitched squeak.
Did I just hear that? That was a sound. That was a sound.
The cub squirmed, paws paddling, fighting toward warmth with a will that had not surrendered. Tala nudged it to her belly, and the cub latched on, nursing with desperate, trembling pulls.
Joe, she's nursing. The little one is nursing. I can see her drinking.
I see it. I see it. My God, she brought her back.
On the ridge, hardened rescue crew members wiped their eyes, pretending it was the wind. In the crevice, all three cubs nursed, and Tala's eyes slowly closed, not in surrender, but in earned stillness. The sun climbed higher, warming the crevice until the cubs stirred. Wiggling and mewling, for the first time without shivering, Tala lay half aware, her body a warm island, as the cubs nursed, napped, and nursed again.
Elena, we can pull you out now. The Bobcat's safe. The water's down. You've done your part.
Leave? She's not even off this ledge yet. I am not going anywhere. No, Captain. I am staying until she leaves this rock. She's earned that witness.
Understood. We'll hold position. Keep rolling. The world needs to see this.
The rescue crew continued filming, measuring the cliff, the watermarks, 80 feet of vertical stone, 40 feet of flood. Through Elena's lens, one cub wobbled to its feet and tumbled over its sibling, drawing a tired blink from Tala. They backed up Elena's footage with their own, every frame a testament to maternal will carved in stone. The crevice was quiet now, a family resting, still on the edge, but no longer alone. On the ridge, Joe's team huddled around a rugged laptop, Elena's footage loading frame by frame. The screen showed Tala mid-climb, the cub a wet speck in her mouth, the water a roaring blur below.
That's 80 feet of vertical rock. She did that 3 times, once while slipping, once while dangling.
A rescue tech held a measuring tape to the cliff face, confirming the height that had almost killed her. 40 feet of flood. The water rose halfway up the sheer stone before it started to fall.
I've seen a lot of things in rescue ops. I have never seen an animal fight like that.
A park ranger vehicle pulled up to the ridge, dust rising as official response finally arrived. After reviewing the footage, the ranger said simply, "This is unprecedented. Nothing in our records comes close."
The world's about to see what a mother will do. This story won't stay quiet.
Within hours, the first clips were already beginning to spread, carrying the Bobcat's story far beyond the canyon walls. Through her telephoto lens, Elena captured a portrait of earned peace, Tala's head heavy against stone, 3 cubs nursing, the floodlines drying below. She attached the clip of the cub's first breath, after apparent death, and sent it to a news affiliate. Then lowered the camera and waited. Within minutes, the clip went live. Within an hour, millions shared it, the climb, the slip, the revival, spreading across every platform. Comments poured in from every continent. Mothers, wildlife biologists, strangers, all witnessing Tala's impossible climb. On the ridge, Joe and his crew watched the view count explode in silence, their own footage now part of something larger.
That's not just a bobcat anymore. That's a mother who rewrote the rules of survival.
On the ledge, Tala slept through it all, cubs nursing in the warm sun, her breathing slow and even, her body finally still.
She has no idea. The whole world is watching her right now, and she's just breathing.
The rescue crew kept their distance, guarding the peace that family had fought so hard to claim. The canyon that had tried to swallow them now held them in golden light, a sanctuary carved by a mother's will. A wildlife biologist with the Regional Conservation Authority released a formal statement that morning. It read, This is the first documented case of a solitary bobcat performing repeated cliff rescues of newborns. The behavior redefines our understanding of maternal instinct.
I just kept filming. She did things I didn't think were possible. When the cub started breathing again, that's a sound I'll never forget.
From the ridge, she gave a remote interview to a national morning show, her voice still carrying the weight of the night. Captain Joe Morrison stepped into frame, and for the first time, he spoke publicly about what he had witnessed.
I've pulled people from floodwaters for 20 years. Seeing what that mother did, it's the bravest thing I've ever witnessed. I am honored to have been here.
The clip of Tala's climb became the most shared wildlife video of the year, drawing hundreds of millions of views. Donations poured into bobcat conservation, and schools across the country wove the story into their science lessons. A park ranger quietly confirmed that GPS tracking showed the family safe in a new den, far above any future floodline. The bobcat had not only survived, she had rewritten what we know a mother will do, and the world would never forget. Tala lifted the first cub and slipped into the brush, leaving the ledge behind without a glance back. One by one, she ferried the cubs through tall grass and sun-warm rock, each trip slower, but never stopping. Elena kept the camera low, following at a respectful distance, her lens a quiet witness to the final journey.
Don't scare her. Just let her lead. This is where she belongs.
Tala vanished into a dark hollow beneath a lightning-struck oak, its roots a fortress far above any flood. Through the lens, Elena saw 3 tiny bodies nurse in shadows, safe at last, their mother's eyes closing.
Go live, little ones. You've got the mother of all fighters.
She whispered a thank you, as if the bobcat could hear, then shouldered her gear and climbed out of the canyon. The canyon behind her was silent, its fury spent, its secret now carried by millions who would never see this place. In the final light, the den was a still point of warmth, a mother and her 3 cubs breathing together in the golden dusk. Elena paused at the canyon rim, looking back once more into the silent gorge. The flood water had vanished, but the story carved in stone would remain forever. In a world that measures survival by strength, one mother had proven it is measured by will. The footage Elena captured became a symbol of maternal devotion, shown in classrooms and shared in homes across continents. Tala would never know her name or her fame, but her cubs would grow in the shelter of her impossible climb. The canyon was quiet now, the storm a memory, the vertical ledge a monument only the wind would touch. In the hidden den, a small family breathed together, far above any flood that might ever rage again. The bobcat, who had dragged her cubs up a vertical cliff, one by one, had done more than survive. She had shown the world what a mother will do when there is no second choice. In the golden light, the bobcat and her cubs rested, a testament to resilience, carved in love.